4 days ago, Prime Minister Keir Starmer backed ICC arrest warrants against Israeli leaders. Then he announced a full arms embargo, not just offensive weapons, everything, including defensive systems Israel uses to stop rockets from hitting civilian areas. The decision sent shockwaves through diplomatic channels worldwide. What happened next exposed the true cost of Britain's choice. David Lammy, Britain's Foreign Secretary, was mid-flight to Tel Aviv when Israeli air traffic control pulled his landing clearance. The plane turned around over the Mediterranean. Flight tracking apps caught it all in real time. A G7 foreign minister rejected mid-air. Diplomats across Europe are calling it unprecedented in modern history. Hours later, Benjamin Netanyahu appeared before cameras at 9 p.m. Jerusalem time, flanked by his entire security cabinet. The staging was deliberate. The message was surgical. A nation that abandons its allies in their hour of need should not expect friendship in return. Then came the cascade of consequences that nobody in Westminster saw coming. Israel immediately suspended intelligence sharing frameworks built over decades. Mossad sources now classify certain British officials as security risks. Senior Israeli figures say privately that the breach may be permanent and irreversible. Here's what that actually means for Britain's security. Over the past decade, Israeli intelligence has helped Britain stop multiple planned terror attacks on UK soil. That pipeline just went dark. Israeli cyber firms protect critical British infrastructure, energy grids, financial systems, transport networks, water supplies. That protection is being systematically withdrawn. Defence partnerships worth £12 billion are unravelling at unprecedented speed. Joint counter-terrorism programmes that British families relied on without even knowing they existed no longer function. Michael Green knows this reality personally. 3 years ago, Israeli intelligence foiled a kidnapping plot targeting his daughter in London. He credits that cross-border collaboration with saving her life. That protection system no longer exists. Inside Westminster, panic is rapidly replacing policy. Dame Barbara Woodward, Britain's ambassador to the United Nations, didn't learn about the arms embargo decision from her own government. She learnt about it from an Israeli diplomatic protest filed at the UN. Her resignation letter was written that same night. The Foreign Office was completely blindsided. The intelligence community was blindsided. Even David Lammy reportedly had limited advance warning about the scale of what Starmer was announcing. Former MI6 chief Sir Alex Younger called this the worst foreign policy decision since Suez. Lord Robertson, former NATO Secretary General, warns Britain has just lost its most valuable intelligence partner in the Middle East. These aren't partisan voices. These are the people who built the security architecture Starmer just dismantled. And the diplomatic fallout extends far beyond the UK-Israel relationship. Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Bahrain, key partners in the Abraham Accords, have quietly expressed sympathy with Israel's position. In a closed Gulf Cooperation Council session last week, ministers reportedly questioned whether Britain's security guarantees and commitments still carry any weight. Arab diplomats say decades of careful relationship building have been severely damaged in a single news cycle. London now finds itself in the extraordinary position of being distrusted by both Arabs and Israelis simultaneously. A two-front diplomatic crisis with no clear path to resolution. Think about the strategic implications of that position. Britain has traditionally served as a bridge between Washington and the Middle East. That bridge is collapsing. Markets reacted immediately to the uncertainty. The pound dropped against the shekel in early trading. Roughly £30 billion in bilateral trade relationships are now thrown into question. British firms are being systematically removed from Israeli tech partnerships and innovation consortia. On social media platforms, the hashtag Britain Betrays Allies began trending within hours, driven by both Israeli and British users expressing shock and anger. Inside number 10 Downing Street, the atmosphere has shifted from confidence to crisis management. Defence Secretary John Healey reportedly called the decision strategically damaging and potentially catastrophic during an emergency Cobra meeting. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper was overheard expressing grave concerns about the security gaps this creates. Leaked out on I-5 assessments now circulating in Whitehall warn that Iranian proxies may already be probing for vulnerabilities created by the sudden intelligence freeze. These classified reports suggest planned operations specifically timed to exploit Britain's new blind spots in Middle Eastern terror networks. Think carefully about what that means. British citizens potentially at greater risk because of a diplomatic gesture meant to signal moral leadership. Rishi Sunak and the Conservative opposition see the massive political opening. He's positioning himself as the restoration candidate who can repair Britain's shattered alliances. Britain stands with its democratic allies, or it stands alone and vulnerable, he said in Parliament yesterday. Recent polling reflects the public's growing anxiety. Conservatives have gained significant ground. On national security issues, Labour's advantage has narrowed dramatically. National security has become the Labour government's most serious vulnerability. Then there's the staggering economic fallout that's only beginning to materialise. Israeli venture capital has frozen British investments virtually overnight. Approximately £4 billion in active tech partnerships are being redirected to American and European firms. The City of London, long considered a preferred hub for Israeli technology listings and financial partnerships, is hemorrhaging credibility. Life sciences collaborations are under review. Cancer research partnerships are being reconsidered. Pharmaceutical development programs built on UK-Israel cooperation are facing uncertain futures. Industry analysts project potential cumulative losses exceeding £100 billion across biotech, cybersecurity and defence sectors over the next decade. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. These represent jobs, innovation and Britain's competitive position in global markets. Inside Israel, the consequences have become personal and immediate for British nationals. British students have been removed from certain university exchange programmes. Joint research laboratories are being shuttered or restructured without British participation. British journalists are finding themselves denied access to official government briefings and press conferences. The British Embassy in Tel Aviv, once a bustling centre of bilateral cooperation and cultural exchange, is now effectively isolated from the policy-making apparatus it once influenced. A senior diplomat put it plainly in a leaked memo. This isn't retaliation for retaliation's sake. It's demonstration. Israel is showing the entire world what happens when foundational trust breaks. The security implications stretch far beyond economics and hurt feelings. Without active Israeli intelligence cooperation, Britain's ability to track Iranian nuclear development weakens significantly. Hezbollah movements across Syria become much harder to monitor in real time. Hamas financing networks operating inside Europe slip through widening gaps. ISIS affiliates once traced through Israeli cyber surveillance capabilities reappear in the shadows. These aren't theoretical concerns. These are operational realities that intelligence professionals are grappling with right now. Defence contractors are rapidly reassessing their positions and partnerships. Lockheed Martin is reviewing Britain's role in the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter programme. Rafael Advanced Defence Systems has cancelled multiple procurement deals worth billions. Israeli cybersecurity firms are pulling protective services from British government systems and critical infrastructure. The message being sent is brutally clear. Britain cannot currently be trusted with sensitive security cooperation or classified technology sharing. This crisis lands hardest where it matters most, on ordinary people trying to live their lives safely. Israel's Iron Dome technology shields British military bases in Cyprus from regional threats. Its intelligence networks protect British commercial shipping passing through the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz. Mossad counter-terrorism operations across Europe have prevented attacks that would have cost British lives, though most of this work remains classified. Strip those protective layers away and Britain stands significantly more exposed to threats it may not even see coming. At home, Britain's Jewish community feels the sudden shift most acutely. Synagogues that relied on Israeli security guidance for decades are now reassessing their entire protective protocols. Jewish schools, once quietly advised by Israeli protection experts, are reviewing every security measure from scratch. Community leaders describe anxiety levels unseen since the darkest days of European terrorism in the 1970s and 80s. Immigration inquiries to Israel and the United States are reportedly spiking among British Jewish families. The chief rabbi has called emergency consultations with community leaders across the country. The message rippling through British Jewish communities is both simple and deeply unsettling. Uncertainty and vulnerability where there was once quiet partnership and protection, and Europe is watching this crisis unfold with growing alarm. France is openly questioning British reliability within NATO command structures. The Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, ever wary of Russian aggression on their borders, are wondering privately if Britain would waver under Moscow's pressure the way it seemingly did with Jerusalem. NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte has reportedly expressed direct concern to British officials about London's commitment to Allied collective defence principles. These conversations are happening behind closed doors, but the anxiety is real. Britain risks finding itself diplomatically isolated, not through intentional design, but through catastrophic miscalculation. Across the Atlantic in Washington, American officials are quietly reassessing Britain's position in the intelligence hierarchy that has defined the special relationship for generations. The Five Eyes alliance, comprising the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia and New Zealand, represents the world's most exclusive and powerful intelligence sharing network. It depends absolutely on trust, capability and reliability. The CIA has relied heavily on the British-Israeli intelligence triangle to track emerging threats across the Mediterranean basin and throughout the Middle East. That triangular network just fractured in ways that may take years to repair, if repair is even possible. One senior American intelligence official speaking on condition of anonymity said bluntly, if Washington is ever forced to choose between London and Jerusalem on Middle East intelligence operations and threat assessment, that choice has already been made. Former CIA Director Mike Pompeo went even further in a public statement. Britain is actively choosing strategic irrelevance over meaningful influence. History will not judge this kindly. For a nation that has prided itself on punching above its weight in global affairs, those words cut extraordinarily deep. So the unavoidable question becomes, can Keir Starmer actually repair this rupture? Can he reverse a diplomatic breakdown unprecedented in modern British history, or has his decision condemned Britain to years of strategic isolation, progressively cut off from vital intelligence, diminished influence and eroded trust? The British government insists that diplomatic dialogue continues through various channels. Israeli officials insist emphatically that it does not, that normal relations are suspended indefinitely pending fundamental policy changes. Between those contradictory claims lies a harder, more uncomfortable truth, a Britain that has suddenly become smaller, less connected, more uncertain and more vulnerable than at any point in recent memory. And here's perhaps the most concerning aspect of this entire crisis. It's still actively developing in real time. Tomorrow's classified intelligence briefings may reveal the full extent of what Britain can no longer see or access. The emerging threats now invisible because critical security partnerships were abruptly severed. In this new reality, intelligence gaps aren't merely concerning or inconvenient. They're genuinely dangerous to British citizens. This story continues evolving by the hour. If you want comprehensive updates as this crisis continues unfolding across multiple fronts, subscribe now and hit the notification bell so you don't miss what happens next. And drop a comment below. Do you think Starmer can successfully repair this fractured relationship, or has Britain's credibility been damaged beyond any realistic repair? Let me know your thoughts.